Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I have just learned what the House action is on the balanced budget amendment. From my perspective, and I think from the perspective of the future of our country, it is unfortunate the decision that was made there. The question then comes up whether it should be brought up here. And I did work with the Majority Leader, and I am sure I'm not saying anything out of school when I said he was reluctant to move in the direction of scheduling the balanced budget amendment over here. I see no point in bringing it up this year here in the Senate. My intention is to bring it up next year, beginning of the year, when we come back, when the House will have a different composition, when the Senate will have a somewhat different composition. I also want to express my gratitude to the members of the Senate with whom I work, as well as those who were in the opposition, who worked hard. The Majority Leader was one of those. Senator Byrd was one of those. And on our side, I shouldn't start thanking people because I'm going to miss a great many, but Senator Strom Thurmond, Senator Orrin Hatch, Senator Larry Craig on the Republican side were really great, and Senator DeConcini and Senator Heflin, Senator Bryan on our side were very helpful, and I am sure I'm missing others. Let me also pay tribute to the personal members of my staff, Brant Lee and Susan Kaplan particularly, who worked very hard on this. What I hope has come out of it, regardless of the vote in the House, is that we have focused a little more on this gargantuan problem of the deficit. We have to see to it that future generations have the kind of an opportunity that we have had. We cannot do that if we continue down the course that we're on right now. And I hope in some way, whether it is a constitutional amendment in the future or some other means, we can face our responsibilities. There is no politically popular way of solving this problem, and we have to recognize that. And we're going to have to face up to the pain. And the sooner we face up to the pain, the less painful it's going to be in the long run. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
President.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I thank the distinguished senator from Illinois for his comments. I had earlier in the year, following a series of discussions with Senator Simon and others, made a commitment to Senator Simon that I would make a good faith effort to bring the balanced budget amendment before the Senate. And although I am opposed to such an amendment, it was my intention to honor that commitment. As Senator Simon knows, we've discussed this on a regular basis, almost daily indeed, for the past few weeks. We discussed the possibility of bringing it up shortly after the House acted, had the House approved the amendment. In view of the action in the House today and Senator Simon's statement that he's just made, it is not my intention to bring the matter before the Senate this year because we all recognize that it would simply be a waste of time since no final action would be possible and since we have such a large number of other measures with which we must deal. Before concluding, I want to pay tribute to Senator Simon, with whom I disagree on this issue and disagree strongly, as he and I have discussed both publicly and privately on many occasions. But for sheer perseverance, for sheer tenacity, for sheer single-mindedness of purpose, when committed to an objective, there is no one in the Senate who exceeds Senator Simon. And he, through the force of his own personality and efforts, obtained from me the commitment to bring the matter before the Senate at a time when I did not share his view on it, and I still don't share his view on it. And so I'm thankful to him for the statement he's just made, in which the commitment which I made to him is no longer imposed upon me, and he has graciously indicated that he doesn't see any point in proceeding, and I agree. I want to make one final comment, and that is about a senator who is not here, who is also very heavily engaged in the subject, and that is, of course, Senator Byrd, who, with similar skill, tenacity, and perseverance, argued the opposite point of view from that advocated by Senator Simon. All of us stand in awe of Senator Byrd's knowledge of the Senate and his reverence for the institutions of our government, and I believe that he brought to this debate a skill and knowledge that is unmatched. And so I conclude, Mr. President, by again thanking my friend and colleague from Illinois and saying that if by the grace of God we are both back in the Senate next January in our current positions, why I will look forward to discussing the matter with him again at that time. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Senator from California. Recognized.
Mr. President, I thank the Majority Leader for his courtesy. I realize the hour is late, and I am not going to transgress, but a moment. I want to pay tribute to Senator Simon, who has worked so doggedly and persistently with regard to the balanced budget amendment. And I think all of us who have legislated for many years know the feeling when you have worked so hard on something and you see the reality of its inability to be processed simply because of the situation in the House and now also in the Senate. That sometimes gives one a lump in the throat. And just wanted to say that I have known Paul Simon for over 20 years. We served together as legislators, respectively, in Wyoming and Illinois. And I've always been impressed by his sincerity, his extraordinary civility, and his thoroughness. And it is regrettable that we will not deal with the issue in a sensible way with regard to the balanced budget. It will not go away. There's been a common theme of those of our colleagues who are leaving this place voluntarily, and that is Senators Rudman and Senator Wirth and Senator Conrad, all of them saying, in essence, we all know what we have to do. And indeed, we all do know what we have to do, and that is to deal with this part of the budget which is on automatic pilot. And that is indeed what we do not do. So I just want to commend the senator from Illinois for his courage and his intrepid persistence. And as we look into this issue in the months to come, we're going to have to do something, because I would challenge any member in this body from either side of the aisle to prove to me by their own roll call votes how they have contributed to rolling back the deficit or to rolling back the debt which is $4 trillion, the deficit which is $400 billion. And courage is something we talk of, but it can't be followed in the congressional record in the ayes and the nays. It is not in there. It never will be in there as long as the constituent groups beat the brains out of the people who say they will cut it back. Because if you are known as one of those people, you will not be here. Anyone with the extraordinary courage to go and vote to deal with the entitlements, to deal with veterans' benefits, to deal with Social Security, to deal with health care, Part B premiums, is quickly retired. So the people are getting about all they deserve. So to those senators who voluntarily leaving, I would add Senator Sims and Senator Cranston and Senator Adams, and all of them too, in one way or another, have simply said, we all know what we have to do. And since we don't do it, won't do it, can't do it, there's one way to do, one way to follow when you are a member of a legislative body, and that is when everything else fails to work, why not try something else? And the try would be the balanced budget amendment. And it will come, and Senator Simon and Senator Thurmond will be right there pressing us to do it once again, and they should. And it will come to pass, and I commend them both. And I thank the chair. President, I would amend the previous unanimous consent request, requesting that, asking unanimous consent that senators be permitted to speak for up to 10 minutes each, as if in morning business.
Without objection,
And I yield the floor and would suggest the absence of a quorum. Oops, you're ready. Let her.